Hey everyone, Greg and Ryan here, and we are finally back.
Long time no see, bitch.
We'll be here at Camp Redwood all season long for these breakdowns, and I gotta be honest, we did not pack appropriately for this.
All we have are these marshmallows to eat.
Actually, Greg, I made you something very special.
Come on, man.
All the stew is stew!
First off, guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of our breakdowns.
And be sure to follow us everywhere else. On Twitter at GSUniverse, on Instagram at GameSpotUniverse, and also on Facebook at GameSpotUniverse. We'll be sharing a ton of fun stuff across all of those platforms, so make sure you're following us.
And now it's time to break down AHS 1984, Episode 1, Camp Redwood. Keep 'em warm there? Good.
It's a nice fire you got going here.
Okay. Things start off in 1970s. We get a threesome to kick it off. And right from the get-go, they say, lambskin condoms? So yeah, I knew everyone's about to die in that room.
You know, when people have sex, like they're goners.
It's over.
They're gonna die, and you know they go out in epic fashion to Mr. Jingles, who we're first introduced to. You know, he's walking through. We see the keys jingling on his keychain. And he just wipes out, we think, almost everyone, which would be 10 people were massacred at Camp Redwood back in 1970.
Nine.
But turns out,
Turns
yes.
out it's 9, but we'll go back to that
We'll go back to that later. Now, the first kill of the season that we see was an epic kill. At the very end of this video, we're gonna do our favorite kill of the week, but this is up there. This is a candidate, Greg.
Oh, yes.
A knife through the back of one person into the mouth of the other girl and kills them both instantly. That was pretty epic.
That's how you got to start things off. I'm happy they did that.
And then we find out that Mr. Jingles, you know, he takes trophies. He takes the ears of his victims, slices them off, and puts them onto his keychain.
Like a Dolph Lundgren kind of thing.
I immediately thought, this is an obscure reference, but I immediately thought of Universal Soldier.
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
From there, we hit off to 1984 with our character intro from Frank Stallone's Far From Over. I loved it.
Yeah, perfect setting for an aerobics class going on. You know, and harkens back to kind of the perfect vibes if you've seen that movie, you know, John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis. It was straight out of any number of those type of films back in the day. We get a cool little like intro of who everyone is and kind of like how they're spending their time in the summer of 1984.
This is the end. Yeah. You made your choice and now my chance is over.
Now, the lyrics of this song start off with, "This is the end." So if that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what is for this show.
As soon as you hear that, you're like, okay, this is gonna be bad. This story is gonna be very bad for these group of friends.
I'm just dancing from that part too. Like,
I was dancing
you're
too.
all
Yeah,
gonna die.
Yeah, I was dancing too. So our lead here is Brooke Thompson, played by the fabulous Emma Roberts, and she is describes herself as the last American virgin.
For this show, that's pretty good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And, you know, the themes of the final girl in a lot of horror slasher films are definitely heavily used right here for Brooke. She's probably going to be the one that outlasts everyone till the very end. We'll have to wait and see, but you know, she's the virgin that hasn't had sex, that is ultimately going to try to escape these different attacks from these killers.
She then meets Billy Lord in this slumber party massacre kind of scene out of nowhere, where she tells her this.
I'm not a les, just friendly. Rad bod, though. Like that girl on Cheers.
All right, well, we'll see about that. We'll check in on that later on in the season.
Now, Montana is friends with the larger group, and she basically wants to set Brooke up with her friend Chet, who's played by Gus Kenworthy. You know, he's the newcomer here, and there's a very meta moment here because he is obviously an Olympic silver medalist in real life, and he's basically pissed off the Olympics because he either was caught with steroids or some type of recreational drugs, and he can't be performing. Yeah, he can't be performing in the Olympics that are coming to Los Angeles in the summer of 1984. So he's definitely very pissed. I thought it was a funny nod to the fact of his profession prior to becoming an actor.
Not only that, his two lines, well, technically his first line is "hey," but then after that, he gives you a
Fuck the IOC. I'm in.
We're also introduced to Xavier and Ray. Now, Xavier brings up early on Richard Ramirez. He name drops him early
an
on.
actual real-life serial killer, which was referenced before in AHS Hotel. You guys remember that Ramirez joined on Devil's Night, joined the whole crew for that big dinner. So it's cool to kind of get the connection between Hotel and now 1984. But he's specifically talking about like the first murder of Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, in Glassell Park back in the summer. I believe it's June or July of 1984, when he violently murdered an old 79-year-old woman in her home. So the hysteria and the kind of scare that was going over the summer throughout LA from the Night Stalker, who would just drive around from suburb to suburb and prey on innocent people. So it's perfect kind of setting for a horror story to begin.
Now, Richard Ramirez's crime spanned from 1984 to 1985, where he was finally apprehended. Now, are they going to change this canon a little bit, or like have a Tarantino-esque ending to this character on the show? Doubtful, because already canon for AHS itself, they tell us that he died in 2013.
Which is the actual year that he died from lymphoma, right? So I don't think they're going to change up and have him die in this season.
He runs off.
He definitely does get into some big showdown with someone in the episode in the season, and maybe gets hurt really bad, but then gets away and eventually dies. Eventually gets caught like a year later. Because I don't think the season's going to span over more than a summer. I mean, we don't know. It's a lot of episodes to fill up a summer, right? And we think a lot of stuff has to move along. So. Yeah. Maybe like the end of the season is in 1985 when he is eventually caught, and finally we see that Brooke is safe from his terror. I don't know.
The show loves flash forwards and flashbacks, so we'll see.
My cousin was saying that they think that this guy's going to go on a rampage like Son of Sam did in the summer of '78. Which is why I'm getting out of town for the next couple of months.
Now, Xavier also references another real-life serial killer, the Son of Sam, which terrorized the East Coast, New York City, during the summer of 1978, I believe. So the context here is to create a very good foundation for the story. The paranoia that's going around the public, right? That no one's kind of safe, even in their own homes, right?
Nope. And the thing is here with both of these serial killers that they name drop, they both were Satanists, or at least they claim to be. I think Son of Sam, he said he made it all up later on, but Richard Ramirez, he claimed no, he was a devout follower of Satan.
And we actually get to see some of that in his run-in with Brooke later on.
And in Hotel as well.
Is that it? All of it? Swear on Satan!
Now, a significant detail, do not mess this up or Xavier will get pissed off at you. He is a serious actor. He's not in commercials and stuff, Greg. He classically trained at Stella Adler, and some of the notable alumni at this school, this academy actually, Robert De Niro, Benicio del Toro, Marlon Brando. So he takes himself extremely serious as a method actor.
Yeah.
I don't know how successful his career is going to be. It's probably going to be very short-lived after the summer.
He also says method. I'm very method. So let's keep an eye on
Suspicious
him.
guy right now.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know exactly his intentions.
Scream.
Corn syrup. Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie.
Now, this paranoia from the Night Stalker that's going through the public in Los Angeles, as well as the looming Olympics that are coming to town, causes them to kind of want to get out of the city for a while, right?
Yeah, of course.
So Xavier's idea is to get this gig as camp counselors at Camp Redwood. The guy clearly didn't do his background work.
Or maybe he did.
Or maybe he did, and he's basically just, lying to all of these friends of his. But yeah, that's basically the motivation for them to even go to Camp Redwood in the first place.
Sure, let's go. Do it. Don't care. Let's get them there.
Hey, it got us here. Now we go home with Brooke, and there's a quiet moment where she's kind of reminiscing on some jewelry that she had. I feel like her parents have kind of probably passed on. Maybe these are the jewelry, the rings that her mom left her.
Maybe
she's alone in a house.
I got
in an apartment.
sleepaway camp vibes here. From her character starting to give me a little bit of a sleepaway camp vibe. So we'll see where this goes.
Now, the weird thing about Brooke, not the weird thing. I mean, this is spot on for any of these slasher flicks, but she tells everyone that the Night Stalker comes for those that leave their windows open and sleep, doors unlocked and all that kind of stuff. And she sleeps right by an open window. Greg.
Okay.
She's an easy target.
She brings it up earlier too, how the crime rate goes up because during the summer people leave their windows open.
It gets hotter. People open their windows. Yeah.
Where's the jewelry? Get it for me.
Luckily, she survives the attack thanks to her cast iron that she hits him over the head with. But
Nice.
he vows to kind of track her down and kill her. He wants her blood.
Okay.
Even though he got some jewelry out of it. But yeah, she decides after that near-death attack,
I'm gonna head out.
yeah,
That's it.
that she wants to go to camp with a bunch of strangers she just met the day before.
She needs to get more friends. And then we get to the van itself, Fantasy, and it looks like a very much of a mystery machine kind
Yep.
of bus. All right,
Yep,
cool.
totally.
Digging it.
And the song playing, Somebody's
Somebody's
watching me.
watching
Like, I mean, this is heavy foreshadowing, guys. People are watching these kids, and it's bad news for them.
And then, of course, they stop to get gas, where the attendant there tells them, "You're all gonna die."
This is obviously a callback to Friday the 13th.
Ralph.
You'll never come back again.
Oh, shut up, Ralph.
It's got a death curse.
And of course, that character who's playing our Ralph of this story right now is the brother of the late great Patrick Swayze, Don Swayze.
Turn around. Go back to the city. You never should have opened that place up again.
Now, in a very suspicious moment, Xavier hits the payphone. There's no cell phones back then, guys.
No.
Hits the payphone. Well, maybe there are cell phones. They're just like huge.
Yeah, they're the giant ones.
Yeah, the big ones, Wall Street. Hits the payphone and checks his answering machine. There's no voicemail.
Nope.
And gets a very suspicious call from, it sounds like maybe an old flame or someone that he did dirty.
Maybe an old flame that's still probably gonna want to kill him.
Yeah,
but still.
it sounds very serious.
Maybe he owes money. I'm gonna go with money here.
You can't just take your dick and walk away. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. I know exactly where you're going.
Xavier, let's go!
There's a lot about Xavier that we don't really know, right? Like just to take this job with his friends in Camp Redwood, where people who are in the know kind of know what happened there, that probably wouldn't want to sign up for a job out there, and then he has this suspicious phone call. Like he's clearly running away from something.
Nearly every character is a little suspicious right now, even Brooke, so you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to get a bunch of flashbacks, so we'll come back to that later on predictions, but everything is not what it seems to be.
Totally.
You guys, I think we were supposed to turn back there.
Now here's another music cue that should keep you on high alert. Photographed by Def Leppard plays, and literally the song starts out, "I'm out of luck." I mean,
Sure are.
yeah, they are.
Now, next up, right from there, we get a shot of Cody helping out Chet with the bowl. He's assisting him while driving, and so, of course, they hit someone right from there. I love that.
You love hitting people?
With cars? Or the smoking? Or the, what
Yeah,
are
what
we
do
saying here?
you love?
I love that scene. Sadly, someone walks in front of the vehicle and he hits him. It's not his fault.
It's clearly his fault, and you know, this is an obvious nod to "I Know What You Did Last Summer," one of the classics from the '90s. You just gotta watch where you're going when you're driving on roads that you're not familiar with.
Oh my God.
No way.
Oh my God.
Now, the key here is that Xavier wants to immediately cover up exactly what he's done. If he wasn't suspicious already, he's already trying to cover up literally running over a kid.
And obviously, it looks like that person was running out there to stop them and ask for help, like you do in every single horror film.
So they make it to Camp Redwood with only hitting one pedestrian.
Okay.
And you know, they go immediately to Nurse Rita to check up on his health. He's kind of going in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
Nurse Rita, she works at Hawthorne Hospital, which is an actual real-life hospital in the 80s.
Just closed
It's
down.
since closed, yeah. But she's working there the rest of the year, and she's at the summer camp during this summer, and she knows kind of what's happened here. And we find later on, she tells the whole story of it. And we also meet Margaret, played by Leslie Grossman. She's back this season.
Yes, she is.
And she's the owner of Camp Redwood.
Yes.
We later find out that she actually got a whole bunch of money from her husband's untimely death.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
I don't know what happened.
And she bought Camp Redwood as a way of trying to turn a negative, which was, you know, she was part of the massacre, into a positive, and trying to kind of, I guess, gloss over and paint over those horrible memories she has with a more positive experience.
A little bit of the same camp owner from Sleepaway Camp. He's just trying to, you know, it doesn't want any drama. She wants no confrontation.
Now, what she does want is basically to cleanse the sinful, let's say, She's not cool with all of the kind of openness of the free love of the 60s, 70s, and the openness of the drinking, the sex, all that kind of stuff. And she's basically, admonishes all those things and wants to kind of go for a more pure and innocent vibe at her campground.
Well, the background on that is because of her out-of-body experience, her enter the void moment she had during the Mr. Jingles attack in 1970. Now, it's heavily implied there's something going on here, and we'll get to it a little bit later on, but we'll see how that goes. I just like the way they're presenting her right now.
Yeah.
They're really propping her up for something else possibly, but we'll see. But I do like the way they're going around it, where also like the campfire shot, and you can see the eyes, the little devil eyes going on.
Totally.
I like it.
And she reveals, this is when she reveals that she was part of the attack, right? That she survived the attack.
Yeah.
A couple questions here. How did she stay so damn still when he cut off her ear and not scream? I mean, maybe she was basically dead and not even like there, and then kind of had a out-of-body experience and came back to life. But that was pretty crazy that she was able to say that. Did you see the blood that was in her eyes?
That was awesome.
That was awesome, and that was also disgusting. If there's who knows whose blood that is?
Not moving.
Not even just her blood. It's other people's blood in her eyes, and she didn't move up. She didn't move an inch. Also, how does she wear glasses without one ear?
No, there was a massacre, but only 9 died, not 10.
So Mr. Jingles is real?
We clearly know that she's been through a traumatic experience during the massacre. She's the one sole survivor. And it sounds like Mr. Jingles is, from what we find out later, obsessed with her and the fact that she survived it.
Yes, in a newspaper clipping we would see later on, she's circled on there. And she's not circled, I don't think, for him to finish off the job. I think he's trying to get his revenge. We also meet Chef Birdie, who apparently was at the camp too, back in 1970s with Margaret. So she knows the history here, and so that makes you wonder whether or not she's complicit, whatever else is going on here.
She totally is.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Let's just keep that open. But, yeah, and probably
She
Nurse
knows.
Rita too, but we'll see. Because how come she didn't, Nurse Rita, how come she didn't check the dude's ears?
Yeah, that's a good point. Nurse Rita, that's a really good point that you caught on to. Like, if you're checking this person that's got hit by a car, like you check all of his vitals, right? You look all of his whole body.
She didn't look at his.
And if you look at his head, you see his ear was missing, and you'd probably then say, "Whoa, I know this story about this serial killer that used to slice ears off," and
it's time to head out. Let's go.
It's time to get the hell up out of here. Yeah.
And that's how I managed to survive, through the grace of God and His mercy.
Now, if you're wondering about Margaret's kind of where she aligns politically and morally, well, she was really good friends with Charles Keating.
Who's Charles Keating?
Charles Keating was a big-time businessman and activist against pornography.
Yes.
Yeah, he did not like porn, and basically was putting up a big fight, him and his group, against Larry Flynt and Hustler magazine back around this time.
Now, during that campfire, Rita asked the correct questions here, is what's everyone doing here, and how come they hired a bunch of people with no experience? Because anyone with any experience or knows anything about this camp wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, she's highly suspicious of it. That's what makes me to believe that she's not in on the whole thing.
No, yeah.
Also, they only hired like 5-6 counselors. Like, this is crazy. Like, how small is this camp? And it's
supposed to start up any day now.
And it's supposed to start the next day, and it's literally only them to watch over all these kids. And is it really even happening? Like, were they just kind of brought out here for a different reason? Like,
now, are the kids actually going to get there, or do you think the chaos is going to ensue in the next 6 or 7 hours?
No, I think they're going to throw even more stuff into this and make it even crazier. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
I'm worried that the next 6 hours are going to transpire in the next 4 episodes, and then the rest of the episodes are flashbacks before we catch up with everyone again, before the final strike of the knife or something, a flash forward to 1984, back to present day with these kids for the final 2 episodes or something. We'll see.
His name was Benjamin Richter, but everybody called him Mr. Jingles. Richter was drafted into the Vietnam War. They sent him off to Saigon, and that's where he found his calling.
Now, here's where we get some background on Mr. Jingles.
Benjamin Richter.
He went to Vietnam. He went to two tours in Vietnam, and he was like a very efficient killer. Like, really, really good at killing people. A little too good at killing people.
Very, very, very
That's
good.
when he started taking ears.
Yep.
And then he got a dishonorable discharge, went back to the States, couldn't get any type of gig, and basically became a custodian or a janitor at this campground.
The perfect candidate to, you know, get framed.
Yeah, and I was getting a lot of vibes of that he was kind of wrongly convicted or wrongly framed for something that went down initially at the campground, and he was you know, kind of taken advantage of, and because of what people thought of him and kind of his track record, that he's the perfect target to be set up for something like this.
Let's keep an eye on the people he kills throughout this series. Does he kill any of the teens, and what's the motivation behind them? He kills, was it Roy, I think the gas attendant from earlier. Now, does Roy have a background with the camp too? Did Roy have a hand in what happened to him and get his apprehension?
Right.
Or his frame job? What's going on?
That's a great point. Are all these people part of the reason why he went to the mental hospital in the first place? Why he was in prison in the first place? Are they the ones that are all kind of in on covering it up?
Yes. There's a reason why there's more than one killer. We're seeing Richard Ramirez. There may be even another killer out there coming after Xavier. Just keep an eye out on this, because I don't know if we're getting everything right now. Obviously, we're not. Something's up here. But with that said, who knows where they're going.
And to take all of my darkest memories and turn them into something bright and happy.
Dude, that's heavy.
Okay, well, the kids are coming tomorrow, and this is the last time I want anyone talking about that horrible night.
Now, also significantly, we have to mention that Margaret was the star witness against him on the trial.
Of course she was.
Yeah. So he has some beef with her, obviously, in order to clear up what exactly happened, or if he just wants to murder her.
He's just going there to finally just put one in her and end this once and for all.
Does he take her other ear?
Yes. Now let's fast forward to the moment that we meet Trevor, played by Matthew Morrison, and he has a
package.
Package, yes, a package that caused him to have some issues with with Jane Fonda. He was on her video, and apparently he was a bit too distracting.
Yeah, and he's distracting everyone in this damn cabin as well.
Oh, absolutely, especially Montana.
You're a legend.
Thanks.
Let's talk about that scene for a second in the water, because yes, you got to establish. All right, let's do it. Let's get him naked, throw him in that water, and then he decides to go down on her in that gross ass water. Guys, come on.
I mean, he's not going to get killed by Mr. Jingles. He's going to die from some infection.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing?
Come on, man. And then we get some heavy Halloween vibes when we go back to the mental institute, where everyone's broken out, just like in Halloween, with Michael Myers, the escape there. And this escape is a callback to the Goonies?
Yeah, definitely. That opening of I believe it was the opening of the Goonies, right? When when the guy fakes his own death by hanging himself in order to kill the prison guard.
Do you really think I'd be stupid enough to kill myself?
I mean, how dumb is this prison guard, though?
Swinging him around.
You don't taunt.
No,
you do not taunt a serial killer before you check their pulse, make sure they're dead. You have to make sure they're 1,000% dead before you start taunting them. This is 101 stuff. But so he gets out and then he hits the master release. So all of the patients basically get out of their cells, right? And it's just everyone having to kind of everyone working there having to corral all these people, and then he just pieces
out.
Get out.
He's gone.
And here's another candidate for kill of the week, when he strangles the prison guard so strong and so tightly that just blood starts coming out of his eyes, and he's just breaking the bones inside of his neck, basically Game of Thrones style.
We get a quick scene with Dr. Hopple where we see the killer's intentions very quickly to the audience. Oh, a newspaper, which shows exactly what he wants to do, and he's looking for
Didn't really do a good job hiding that newspaper clipping, right?
Not at all.
Your intentions are pretty obvious at that point.
That newspaper clipping should just say, I'm going to Camp Redwood to kill this person. Yeah. Bye. Signed, Mr. Jingles.
Yes. And now another candidate for kill of the week. Poor Roy, back at the gas station, gets that entire car just dropped on his body, and then gets his face stomped in,
of course,
by Mr. Jingles
to finish the job.
So Mr. Jingles, definitely has a revenge tour for a lot of people on his list.
All right, let's go back to Brooke for a second. Now she's by herself in the camp. She was looking for some, some bandages and stuff for
Help
Ray.
Roy,
Yeah, because he cut his hand in a Chet little roid rage incident earlier. So, like a good friend she is, she decides to head out by herself. And of course, you get that shot of that door.
And the hiker nailed to the door.
Which is a callback to Friday the 13th. Now, it's heavily implied that it was Mr. Jingles that killed this dude. You see a guy or someone or a person
in that coat
right outside the door. So she breaks for it from there, and then we get our great scene of her just tumbling and falling over and over and over again.
She finally gets back to the cabin, and no one really believes her at first. They all have to kind of like see what's going on, and they all the guys get their weapons and get ready, and then they go back to the infirmary to see what she's talking about, and nothing's there.
Of course.
The body's not there, of course. There's a coat on a coat rack.
Conveniently, the coat is conveniently put back on the coat rack.
Exactly. There's a high probability here that it's not Mr. Jingles, it's someone else terrorizing her at this point. It's back-to-back 2 straight days of Brooke near-death experiences. Girl needs to just chill.
She needs
just
to get out of here.
Make some tea and relax, and don't go outside. So back in the cabin, we learn that Montana sleeps with a knife.
Yeah, so we get this great line from her.
Why are you sleeping with a knife? I have a suspicious nature.
Okay, I love Montana. She's my favorite character. We have to protect her at all costs, even though it's likely that her and Trevor are the first ones to go. I hope they flip that trope on its head. Also Ray, because he's the black guy, but I doubt they're going to do that either. I feel like they'll be around for a while.
Yeah, but I could also see those two having sex and dying pretty soon.
I think Ray and Brooke might be a thing too.
Oh, yeah, I did like that. I saw a little bit of that.
I saw that getting shipped in there as well, but we'll see. Everything's on the table here. I thought, Ray and Chet, something's going on there too.
Oh, wow, I didn't notice that.
Yes, I did. So keep that in mind. There's a lot going on here, but I don't know if there's going to be enough time if everyone's running away from Mr. Jingles early on. So we'll see how much sex we get later
There's
on.
definitely going to be sex, let's be honest. It's American Horror Story.
All right.
She has got to get laid. Otherwise, it's going to be a long summer.
Now, Greg, if you live alone,
yes,
and you're attacked at night, and you nearly die,
yeah,
and you meet some friends, and you go camping, and you nearly die again,
yep,
and you see a dead body,
yep,
you hit a pedestrian,
There's
a phone call in the mysterious middle of the night at a payphone outside the middle.
When everyone's sleeping. Yeah.
You would go outside and answer that?
Yeah, you obviously got to go answer that call in the middle of the night by yourself.
God, Brooke, what are you doing? She goes outside to answer this phone call.
I'm gonna check it out.
And she hears the jingling of the keys on the other end of the phone call, right? And just then, we get a shot of someone else who showed up at the camp.
Surprise, motherfucker.
The Night Stalker.
Now it's time to jump in our final thoughts and questions for this episode. Starting off, what'd you think of the episode itself?
I thought it was a lot of fun. It has all the absurdity, the campiness, the cheesy dialogue of some of our favorite slasher flicks. The cast is great. Some of the acting was so-so, but it's the first episode and everyone's kind of getting into the swing of things. I thought it picked up as the show progressed.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just anxious and eager to see how long they can stretch this out for 10 episodes.
That's what I'm nervous about. I thought it's very fun. The acting, yes, was a little rough at the very front end, and then it just picks up from there. I can't wait to see how they're going to tackle all the killers, because I feel like there's even more than what we're seeing here.
Sprinkle in some more.
They're going to sprinkle in more serial killers throughout the entire season. With that said, too, I wonder where are they going to get the bodies? Where are we going to get our bodies for these kills down the road if we're going to, go any further? Again, that's
more people need to be showing up at this campground.
Exactly, and it makes me wonder flashbacks.
Flashbacks, yeah, that's a good point. I think we're going to definitely get some kind of context into what happened prior to this, prior to the 1970 massacre maybe, or in between, the years in between. I also want to shout out just the music that was used, right? The music, great music selection, but also the score, very like John Carpenter vibes.
I mean, the end itself, you get the Lady Gaga, or Lady Gaga, or something like that.
Are we going to get Lady Gaga?
No.
We have a foundation of having known a lot of these movies, but also you kind of want to go back and just see some of the other campy, cheesy horror films that we've seen, that we've heard about, that we haven't quite got into. So I know this season I'm definitely going to go back and kind of rewatch stuff as like a double feature before. I mean, you mentioned like a great idea would be to watch a movie before another episode, just to kind of get in that mindset.
I watched Nightmare on Elm Street before this episode kicked off, and I would recommend, I know, guys, everyone let us know in the comments down below if you spot anything, because I can already see it now for this season. We're going to be like, oh, that's from the movie Black Christmas, and this scene's da da da. And then while we do all that, somewhere like we're going to have like Freddy Krueger's going to walk right through the frame, and we're going to miss it. You fucking frauds, you missed the whole damn thing. That's probably going to happen this season. With that said, let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll be able to, we'll shout you out next week, or we'll just delete the comment.
Delete! Delete! Delete!
Now, how about a couple questions we have after watching this premiere episode? The biggest one, I think, is what's the backstory with Margaret, right? What happened to her husband? He mysteriously dies, and she gets all this money, and she decides to buy the Camp Redwood. I want to know, like, what her intentions are, seriously.
I don't think they're going to lead us down the road of her being the killer. I feel like that's a red herring.
I think she killed her husband, though.
Yes.
For sure.
I think there's a lot of truth in what she's saying, more than the lies that she's giving. There's probably a big little lie in there. But with that said, I feel like she's not going to be the killer, and I think they're leading us down another route entirely separate from this.
Maybe she's not the killer, but she does know, she worked with one of the killers, or she knows something more that she's leading on to believe. Also, my other big question I have is about Xavier, and about that phone call, the mysterious phone call that he got on his answering machine. Just a weird thing to get, and then he's kind of like, fleeing the big city and going to the campground for the entire summer.
Was he paid by maybe Margaret to get these kids there, and then go from there and see what happens? But again, the method actor line makes me wonder, what is he doing?
And that brings me, and that brings me to kind of a next big question, just thinking off the top of my head right now, is that the whole motion picture industry weighs heavily on this season. You can say that, like, a lot of these characters are involved in the industry, having worked in commercials or aerobics videos, and I feel like we might come back to something like that. Now, we've talked about this before. We don't really want it to be like that Roanoke style where everyone's playing a role and it's like a remake of
they won't do that.
Of the thing. I hope they don't do that.
They're not going to do that.
But I think that we're going to get even more of this, the kind of industry talk where a lot of these characters are working on different shows and movies, and maybe that means that they're inclined to know how to, act a certain way, like you said, the method acting of Xavier, and kind of not really reveal all of his cards in the beginning. Maybe
Xavier survives. He's the final guy at the end of the season, and he's doing like a reenactment later on in a movie. I can totally see that. Like what was it, Slash for Scream?
Yes.
Yeah, so something like that down the road. Again, like every season, we kick it off. I love the beginning. I love the opening. Around 7 or 8, we start to scratch the back of our heads, and then we all argue with each other at the finale, and then we demand, we want things changed. And then we all at the end go, okay guys, we love you all. We'll see you all next year. Bye. So it's going to happen again. But I think, like last season, they did a great job of wrapping it up. I really loved it from beginning to end, except for, again, just the part where they ran over Cody Ferd. That's it.
The funny thing here is, though, that now Cody gets to do the running over in the car. Look out! All right, time now to talk about our kill of the week. Greg, what do you got?
All right, I like my kills in slasher films to be long, a little bit longer, and played out a little bit, where you get the killer like thinking for a second methodically what he wants to do next. So I got to go with Roy. He's like already down. He could have just left him there, and nope, smash. It's brutal, but it's not brutal. Let's say like nail gun. That was pretty bad in Cult. But poor Roy. I mean, just working on the car late at night. We don't know if it's poor Roy just yet. I'm just saying here. Good point. My kill has to be, well, it's a 2-for-1 kill. The opening kill of the two adolescent teenagers, having sex, lambskin and all, and making out, and then a knife directly in back of the one head into the mouth of the other. When you get 2 kills for one, it's super efficient. High volume kills. Like this is. Bam! It's a welcome to American Horror Story. Right. It's a very good way to set off the entire series this season, and you just know that you're going to get a lot of those same
horror tropes from all the movies of the past that we love. You know, the teens having sex and they're immediately killed, and
it's campy. The kills are campy, and that's what we asked for.
Yeah, and I hope that we get a ton more of those moving forward.
I think we will. Now, there was a lot in this episode I loved, but I would be lying if I didn't say that my favorite part was that promo at the end.
I think we're in danger. Yes, we are in danger from sin.
Okay, one, just good job from the editors. That was a good way to kick off the rest of the season. And two, holy shit. I mean, come on, that was great. I'm getting a little bit of a Cabin in the Woods vibe, but we'll see where that goes. I can't imagine they're going that route entirely, where they're gonna just, Wizard of Oz this entire thing. We'll see.
One thing I did notice in that promo is it looked like there was going to be some Jingles and Ramirez kind of showdown. It kind of reminds me kind of those like Freddy versus Jason movies and stuff like that.
Dracula versus Frankenstein.
Exactly. You get like these two big bads and you kind of put them up against each other.
Of course.
And obviously we're going to get some flashbacks. It looks like we saw a couple scenes of Jingles back in the hospital, his origin kind of story. I think judging by the titles of some of the episodes moving forward, we're going to get more aerobics, definitely.
Slash dance, flash dance.
Yeah, we're going to get some more of that kind of stuff going on, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, before we let you go, we want to tell you about a new show coming to Universe this coming Sunday. It'll be a weekly show on Sundays. It is called True Fiction.
And I'm excited because the first episode is on one of my favorite shows of all time. You may have heard of it, Twin Peaks.
Take a look.
From the unsolved murder that made Twin Peaks to the nuclear origins of Godzilla, True Fiction, every week on GameSpot Universe.
That's it for this week, guys. We are going to hang out here in Camp Redwood until next week. We'll do weekly breakdowns of American Horror Story 1984. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye-bye.
I made a s'more stew.
Get that out of here. It's not